Dear students, I welcome you to this new video lesson in the e-learning series for the subject of Python in class 11th. In the earlier video lessons, we have studied about introduction to Python and how to install Python and how to work with Python. Now we are starting our chapter that is called data handling. That can be called the backbone of Python, because here we will be discussing the data types and operators that are in Python. So these are the basic things that you will require in Python for class 11th and 12th also. So that's why I have called this as the backbone of Python. Okay, so we will be covering the data types and operators in Python. So let's get started. So let's first cover data types. Some built-in data types in Python are numbers, that includes int, float, complex. Then we have string, then list, tuple and dictionary. So these are the basic built-in core data types of Python. Okay. So first we will cover integers. Integers are the whole numbers that have no fractional part. Integers can be positive or negative. Okay. So the numbers that do not have any fractional portion or the decimal portion, those are called integers. There are two subcategories of integers in Python. Number one is integers. It is a normal integer representation of whole numbers, that like 1, 2, 3. Okay, there will be no point in those numbers. Those are called integer numbers. In Python 3.x, integers can be of any length. It is only limited by the memory available. In the other languages, there are integers that have fixed memory space, like 2 byte, 4 byte and so on. But in Python version 3 point above, that is 3.0 and above, integers do not have any fixed length. They are limited by the memory of your system in which you are running your Python interpreter. Okay. And another advantage of Python is that Python 3.x provides int data type to store any integer. Like the languages like C and C++, there are int, then there are long that can store integers, but here only we have integer data type to store any length of integer numbers. Okay, so how long is your integer? That is no worry for Python interpreter, it will just store as int. Okay, so there is only one data type, int, to store any length, any digits of integers. Okay, so it can be 1 digit integer, 2 digit integer or 20 digit integer. So it will be treated as just a data type that is called int. In many languages there are different data types depending upon the size of integer. Okay, like in C and C++ we have int for small integers, and then for larger ones we have long data type. Okay, the second category of integers we have booleans. Boolean means that have two values, one is true and another is false. These true and false are keywords also, and they have the first character as capital. There are only 3 keywords in Python that have first character as capital. These are, I think you know that, 2 are written here, true and false, and the third one is none. Okay. Next, boolean is a subtype of plain integers. Okay, boolean values false and true behave like the values 0 and 1 respectively. Okay, so actually they are represented as integers. The false represents 0 and true represents 1. Okay, so if you write bool 0, then it will return false, and if you write bool 1, it will return true. Okay, so boolean is a subcategory of integer. Next we have floating point numbers, the numbers that have that fractional part. A number having a fractional part is called a floating point number. The decimal point signals that the number is a floating point number, not an integer. So a number, suppose 10, is integer, and a number 10.01 is a floating point number, as it is having a fractional portion. Okay. For example has been given that 12 is an integer where 12.0 will be treated as floating point number. So there is a difference. If you add a point and a value like 0 after it, it will be treated as floating point number, not as an integer. The fractional numbers can be written in two forms. There are two forms to write fractional numbers. One form is fractional form, where we write with decimal number. That is, for example, if we have to write 3521.75 or 0.00359. So these are the fractional form of floating point numbers. Okay. The second form is exponent notation using e to the power. Okay. You have studied this in physics classes also. So 3.50075 e to the power 03. Okay. And 0.5 e to the power minus 04. Okay. So these are the examples of some exponent notation of fractional numbers or floating point numbers. Okay. Floating point numbers can represent values between integers. It has more range than the integers, because in between two integers there lie in infinite number of floating point numbers. Okay, so if you take two numbers like 3 and 4, there will be infinite numbers between 3 and 4, starting from 3.0 and up to 4.0. Okay, so there will be infinite numbers. Floating point numbers can represent a much greater range of values that I have told you, but floating point operations are usually slower than integer operations, because it takes a bit more time to operate those decimal representations. Okay. In Python, floating point numbers are represented in machine level double precision floating point numbers. That is, we have 15 digits of precision in Python. In many languages we have 7 digits of precision. Precision means the digits after point. The possible number of digits that we can store after that decimal point are called precision. Okay. So in Python we have 15 digits of precision for floating point numbers. Like integers, the range of floating point numbers is also limited by the underlying machine architecture. So depending upon your machine, that is your computer or your hardware, the size of the floating number can grow up like the integers. Okay. Next we have complex numbers. So as Python has a large domain, so it also covers complex numbers. The previous languages were not able to cover complex numbers. Python is a versatile language that offers a numeric type to represent complex number also. These complex number will be in your syllabus for class 11th mathematics. If you have studied, then it is okay. If you have not, then don't panic. I will be giving you a brief introduction about complex number, and that will be enough for you for now. Okay. The details will be studied by you in the 11th class mathematics chapter of complex numbers. In mathematics, a number of the form a plus ib is called a complex number. Okay. Here I is an imaginary number that is equal to the square root of minus 1. Okay. Because it cannot be calculated, that's why we have called it imaginary number, and I represents square root of minus 1. So a complex number is made up of both real and imaginary components. In a complex number a plus ib, a and b are real numbers and I is imaginary number. So if we have a complex number written like z is equal to a plus ib, then we will call a as a real component of z and b would be the imaginary component of z. Okay, because b is attached with I, that's why it is called imaginary component of z. But Python represents a complex number in the format of a plus bj. Here we do not use I, we use j. Can you guess why? Are you able to guess? No? Okay, let me tell you. Because in electronics, if you have studied electronics, the symbol I is representing current. Okay, and Python is a versatile language, so it is used in that domain also, electronics, electricals and electronics. So that I is representing the current. That's why Python has choose J in place of the traditional I to represent complex numbers. Okay. Python represents complex number as pair of floating point numbers. So it is not represented actually in the form of a plus bj. It is actually represented as a pair of floating point numbers that will be having the value of a and b. Okay, it will be a pair that will be having a real component, comma, and the second component will be the imaginary component. Okay. So if you want to get the real part and imaginary part of a complex number z, so you will write z dot real. If you have created a complex number z and it is equal to just suppose a plus ib or a plus bj, then if you write z dot real, so that value of a will be printed, and if you write z dot image imag, that will be giving you the imaginary portion of that complex number. Okay, great. Let's move to the next data type, that is strings. It is very popular data type. A string data type allows us to hold string data. String data, you know, collection of characters. Okay, that is any number of valid characters into a set of quotation marks. So any set of valid characters in a language enclosed inside quotation marks will be called as strings. Okay. So in Python 3.0 and ahead, that is called 3.x versions, each character that is stored in a string is stored as a Unicode character. Okay, and Unicode is a system designed to represent every character from every language in the world. Okay, previously that representation was ASCII, that is American Standard Code for Information Interchange. Okay, so it was representing just American, that is English characters. Then we tried to involve Hindi also. Then it became ISCII, Indian Standard Code for Information Interchange. That included Indian languages also. But when we talk about one world, the entire world as a country or as our brotherhood, so what we have is, when we talk about internet, that internet can be seen all across the globe. So there was a problem arising to represent characters from different languages. So a new system of coding the characters was generated, that is called Unicode, Universal Code. Okay, so in this code, every character from every language has given a particular code. So using a Unicode, we can write any character of any language all over the world. Okay, so that's why the uniformity comes into place, because internet is a uniform place. So a language has to be uniform also, so that it can support all the languages. That's why Python supports Unicode format of characters in string. Okay, so that it can be correlated with any language all over the world. So a string can hold any type of known characters, that is letters, numbers, and special characters of any known scripted language. So it is very clear that string can hold letters, numbers, special characters, those are called signs, like @ hash, those are special characters of any language. It can be English, it can be Hindi, it can be Chinese, or any other. Okay, so strings are enclosed in single or double or triple quotes. You can use any of them. You can use single, you can use double, you can use triple. Actually the triple quotes are used for multi-line strings. Okay, so we will be discussing these strings as a separate chapter also. You will be studying these strings in detail. There is a chapter in string for these strings, the complete chapter. So there we will discuss it in detail, but we are just giving an introduction to you here. A Python string is a sequence of character and each character can be individually accessed using its index. Index means position. Okay. So you can see this example of a string that is called hello world. Hello space, next word is world, and each character has a sequence number that is called its index, and the index starts from 0. Okay. So there are two types of indexing. One is called forward indexing, another is called backward indexing. So the forward indexing starts from 0, 1, 2, 3 and so on, whereas the backward indexing starts from -1, -2 and so on. Okay. So there are two types of indexing in any sequence data type. Okay. It will be, the sequence data types are strings, list and tuple. Okay. So here there are two types of indexing. One is forward indexing, another is backward indexing. As the three last core data types, we have list, tuple and dictionary. We have just taken an introduction of all these three, as you will be having a complete chapter on all these, that are strings, list, tuple and dictionary. So don't worry, just try to get a basic of it, basic idea. Okay. So list, a list in Python represents a group of comma separated values of any data type between square brackets. Here the main difference is of brackets. Okay, in list, tuple and dictionary the main thing is the brackets that we use. Okay, so a list is a collection of any data type separated by commas. So the example you can see, first is the collection of integers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The another list is the collection of characters, okay, enclosed in single quotes, and the third list is a mixture, that is a string then followed by an integer then a floating point number. So it can be any data separated by comma and enclosed inside square brackets. So lists are sequence in which each element has index value as in strings. As we have discussed the indexing in strings, the same indexing follows in lists also. Okay. Now we go to tuple. A tuple in Python represents a group of comma separated non-modifiable values of any data type between parentheses. So you can see the difference between list and tuple straight away. The values are non-modifiable. You cannot modify the values of enclosed inside tuple, and the tuple values are enclosed inside parentheses. Okay, that's why I told you the difference is of the brackets. Okay, so you can see the examples. First one, both the examples from list and tuples are same, but the difference is of just the brackets. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, tuple of integers a, b, c, d, tuple of characters, then a mixed tuple. Tuples are also a sequence in which each element has index values as in strings and lists. Okay, so the same indexing follows in lists and tuples also. Okay, next we come to dictionary. Dictionary is an unordered, please concentrate on this word, unordered. Okay, the previous one, string, list and tuples, were ordered lists, ordered collection. Here dictionary is an unordered set of comma separated key colon value pairs within curly brackets. I told you to notify this brackets. Here we use curly brackets and the values will be in the format of key colon value. A key, then a colon sign, then it followed by a value. Okay, it will be in a pair. Within a dictionary, no two keys can be same. This is a rule. Okay, that the key should be unique. For example, we have a dictionary that is having character A colon 1 comma E colon 2 similarly. So this is a collection, this is a dictionary of vowels where A is given number 1, E is given number 2 and so on, U is given as number 5. Okay, so the basic idea of string, list and tuple and at the last dictionary is clear to you with this slide. Okay, and again I am telling you that you should not get worried about the details, because we will be dealing with these data types in detail later on. Okay, so let's move forward. Now the very important point in this chapter, that is mutable and immutable data types. This is a very popular question in Python. Okay, Python data objects can be broadly categorized into two types. One is mutable, another is immutable, that is non-mutable. So first we will discuss immutable data types. Immutable data types are those that can never change their value in place. Please focus on in place. Okay, we will be coming to this point. In place means that in the same memory address where the variable was referencing. Because we have studied that variables are just the reference to value objects. The memory is given to the value, not the variable, that is the name. Okay, and the variables are not the storage containers. That's why they point to some location where a value is stored. So if you can change the value without changing the reference, then it is mutable, otherwise it is immutable. That's why the first point is the data types where we can never change their value in place. In place means at the same place. So if a value 10 was there and x was referencing to that value 10, if you can change that 10 to 12 or any other value without changing the reference, then it is called mutable. Otherwise we will call it immutable, because we are not able to change the value without changing the reference. Okay, in Python the immutable data types are integers, floating point numbers, booleans, strings and tuples. What happens? Each time we change a value, the variable's reference memory address will change. I think it is a bit complicated for you. Okay, so let's see it with an example. So concentrate on this example. We have created three variables, p equal to 5, q equal to p and r equal to 5. I have used semicolon to separate these three in a single line, so that to minimize the space occupied by these lines. So using this line, it is clear that all the three p, q and r having value 5. Okay, so if we print the id of all these three, you can see the id of all those three p, q and r is same. The values may change. If you try it in your system, the values may change depending upon your system. Okay, but the values will be same. So it says that there are three variables p, q, r, that those are pointing to the same location where 5 is stored. Okay, because memory will be given to that value 5, not to the variable p, q and r. Clear? But if you change p equal to 10, r equal to 7 and q equal to r, then if you print the id, you can see it has changed. Now the id of p, q and r have changed, but as you have written q equal to r, that's why the both q equal to r means q and r will point to the same memory location where value 7 is stored. So the id of q and r is same. You can see here the id of q and r is same. Yes, because q and r were pointing to the same memory location where this value 7 is stored. Okay, now let us understand it with another example. If you write p equal to 5, here you can see all the values are 5. The address is this 1501886448. Now you try assigning a variable t to that memory location of 5. Then you try to print the id of t, it will be the same. So this example makes it clear that the memory is allocated to the values. You can see the value 5 is always allocated the same id, whether it is p, it is q, it is r or it is t. But if you change the value, the variables are same but the memory reference changes. You can see the value of p was 5 initially, then it became 10, so the id of p changed. So it means integer is a immutable data type. Similarly, we have strings, we have floating point number, booleans and tuples. All these are immutable. Clear? Great. Now we have second type, that is mutable type. Mutability means that in the same memory address new value can be stored as and when you want. That I have made it clear that the memory is allocated to the values, not to the variables, and if you can change the value that is stored at that location without changing the reference, that means it is mutable. Okay, the types that do not support this property are immutable, and that those support, those are called mutable. The mutable data types are those whose value can be changed in place. That in place word is very important. If you ask the definition of or the difference between mutable and immutable data type, this is a very important question in Python. Okay, difference between mutable and immutable data types with example. So there you should mention this word in place, otherwise it will not be clear to understand the definition. So this in place word is very important in the definition, and you have to explain the meaning of in place also, that we have done in previous immutable type definition. Okay, so the mutable data types in Python are lists, dictionaries, and sets. Okay, these are the three mutable data types in Python. Clear? Very good. Now we come to the internals of the variable. So if a variable has some internal things associated with it, some internal attributes. Okay, so first thing we have come to know that it is Python is an object oriented language. Okay, here the data is given the main priority, not the functions. Okay, Python calls every entity that stores any value or any type of data as an object. Okay, so everything in Python works as an object. Okay, now you will be concerned about what is object. An object is an entity that has certain properties and then exhibits a certain type of behavior. So what is an object? It is entity that have some properties and that can exhibit certain type of behaviors. For example, you have orange, and that is a fruit. So its color, its shape, these are its properties, and its taste. Okay, so that is its behavior. So everything that has some properties and some behavior can be considered as object. So in Python everything is considered as an object. So this object word is used all the time in Python. A variable is also an object that refers to a value. You know that a variable refers to a value. So this is also an object. So every Python object has three key attributes associated to it. Please note these 3 points because this will be a question in your exams also. What are the three key attributes associated with every Python object? So the first one is the type of that object. Type means data type that we have already studied. So it determines the operations that can be performed on that object. So its type will give you the idea that how many or what are the types of operations that will be allowed on that particular object. Okay, and how to know the type? There is a function called type that returns the type of an object. So you will pass the name of that object inside those parentheses of type, and it will give you the answer. Next we have the second attribute is value. So it is the data item contained in the object or being referenced to. So the value that is pointed by that variable or that object is called its value. So how to get the value? Simple thing, we have the print function. In print you write the name of that object, it will give its value. Okay, and the last thing is ID of an object. ID means address. So the ID of an object is generally the memory location of the object, where the object is referencing. Okay, so that will be the location, that is the ID. So we have a built-in function. Built-in function means those functions are already there with Python interpreter. You do not have to call anything extra from outside. Okay, you do not have to import something extra. These are already there in Python. So there is a function called ID that will return the ID of the object that is passed inside the parenthesis. Okay, it seems a bit confusing. isn't it? Okay, let's see with an example. In the example, you can see if we have a variable x equal to 10, if we write type x, it will give class int. Okay, the data types are implemented in form of class in Python. Okay, so the class is int. So that means you can understand by this line is that the data type is integer. Next point is value. So if you write print x, the value will be 1, that is 10. And if you want to know the address this x is pointing to, that means the address where this value 10 is stored, you can print id of x and it will give you to the address of that location where x is pointing, that is where 10 is stored. Okay. Next example, we see x equal to 37.8. Now we have changed the value of x. Previously it was 10, now it is 37.8. So if you try to check the type, it is giving as float. Okay, now we have changed the type of x. Okay, if we try to get the value, then we will write print x, and if we want the id of x, means the location where it is pointing to, we will use the function id. Clear? All these 3 points are clear to you? Very good. So this is all about the data types in Python. We will be concluding this video here only, because if we try to cover operators here, it will become a very large lesson. It will take a lot of time. So better approach is to divide in modules. So the first module we have covered data types, and in the second module, that is the second video lesson, we will be covering operators in detail. And please note, you will be having a memory tester and an assignment section also in the last module, that is on operators. Okay, so before you go to that module, try to revise this module again and again as per your grasping speed until you are clear with all the points. Try running these codes or your own codes in your PC or using PyDroid 3 in your smartphones. Okay, so let us conclude it here, and we will be meeting in the next video where we will discuss operators. Okay, so see you there.